On today's episode, we're going to get a sneak peek behind the curtain of how things work on the Encore classes at Tri-C. Today we're with Fran Tomba, who unfortunately just retired, but I brought her out of retirement today so we could have a conversation about behind the scenes and the history of the Encore program, which is coming up on its 50th anniversary. Fran, thanks for taking time out of your busy retirement of spent time with grandchildren and and fishing and all kinds of whatever you're doing in retirement to come here and talk a little bit about the history of Encore and give us some sneak peeks behind the curtain, how things work. You were sort of the backbone of the whole program for at least 15 years.
Oh, gosh, no. I would...
You're being modest.
Actually, the backbone part is maybe the last 3 years.
Okay.
We always had folks dedicated to the program, and I was always there to help. So I knew about the program for 15 years. I always thought it was a huge, huge program. And it took me a long time to figure out all the pieces and parts of it.
There is a lot of moving parts behind the scenes. Most folks, they register for their classes, they come in, they take their classes, the instructors show up, they do whatever it is they do, and then everyone goes home. But almost like a baseball game or a basketball game or something like that. Before anybody can come out onto the baseball field and start throwing balls or hitting balls with bats or anything like that, there's a lot that has to go on. Tell me what you did there.
So we started with the catalog the end catalog in mind as to what was going to go in those pages, on those pages. And it was always getting the instructors. We have over 200 instructors that I would email and say, okay, it's time for proposals for your classes. Get them to me in a week or 10 days.
And every last instructor, every one of them always was very punctual and Sorry, can't finish that without... I was maybe one of the more guilty ones. Like, do I still have time to?
And then it's funny that you said that because you try to be very conscious of who you have and who you didn't. Then you're always thinking, "Oh my God!" In the middle of the night, so and so never emailed me, and I'm thinking, "Oh, geez."
So, right. Well, when you have 200, because. This is done on the east side. This is done on the west side. Some people will travel back and forth. Some people know I'm only going to do on this side. They're only teaching on one side of the town or whatever.
Right.
And for a while, there was even stuff going on the West Shore campus in Westlake. So when you say there's 200 instructors, these are people that are there. Some of them are teaching 2 or 3 classes. Some of them are there for the whole day. So they're right. And you've got how many classes typically would be offered just between East and West?
Between about 120.
So now you start to see why there's so many different instructors coming in there. And you're keeping track of all of this.
Right.
And then you have to organize.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's that part is stressful. But it was exciting. It was fun. It was even the new instructors who didn't have a clue.
So you have to hold some hands a little bit, get them to...
Exactly. But somehow at the end, it always worked. It always, we were able to get it together. There was always moments where, it's like dodged bullets and we're able to get the catalogs out and done on time, or sometimes early, sometimes a day or two late, but they got done.
And over the last 12, 13 years, something like that, the technology has really changed. And right, human beings, regardless of their age, sometimes we get stuck in our ways. I don't want to do it this way. Why is the technology changing? Why are they? Talk a little bit about some of the frustrations or the learning curves that you even had with.
Well, and that's a good point to bring up, because we had instructors who didn't want to have anything to do with email or following a link to propose a class, or, they were so used to paper. It's like, how many trees are we going to kill here? So we're.
Well, I'm pretty sure all of our instructors and all of our students were all born sometime in the 20th century when everything was done on paper.
Right. So it was fun getting them on board, letting them understand why we're doing it this way. But once they got the gist of it, they were pretty good. So can't complain about that.
What about on the student side? How did the students take registering online versus showing up in person or mailing in your registration or whatever?
So that's funny, because first day of registration was always a 2-hour wait on the phone before they were able to do it online. And then we thought we would get so many complaints that I thought for sure once the online process was available, they'd be relieved, and they weren't. So, unfortunately,
you just taught people a new way to complain.
Exactly. Right. And it's still, it'll take a while for everyone to be on board with that. But every year or every session, we saw percentages increase, that the online process was working. They were getting used to it. Once they got it, they were thrilled that it worked for them. So yeah, it.
Sometimes when it's something new, it doesn't matter how old you are. I don't know what to do. It's new. It's strange. This is not the way we always did it, and that's kind of human nature.
Exactly.
It's different. I don't like it, but it did cut down on the wait times. The technology really improved efficiency for you and the rest of the staff there, until it doesn't.
Right.
Because even technology is fallible. Tell me a horror story about just nothing went right, or.
I have to say, as far as horror stories, it always happened on the first day. Obviously, we caught, whatever error was made was caught then. Like maybe having 2 classes in one classroom, and then trying to figure out how to rearrange or reassign. But as far as horror stories, maybe instructors not showing up for class because they thought it was 1 week, the start of, and then, having to track them down. But nothing horrible that we weren't able to fix.
But those logistical headaches that,
of course,
you must have had the patience of Job to listen to everyone's complaints and then go, yep, let's fix that.
And you kind of have to, just don't sweat the small stuff unless someone is bleeding or it'll be fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
What happened in COVID? What did you guys do to adapt or change at COVID?
A lot of gnashing of teeth. A lot of.
Was there any bourbon involved?
Gosh, and we were home, so nobody would have known. But yeah, that was something that kind of set everybody back. Me especially. Me being the oldest of the group there, that we were going to run these classes virtually. And I thought, oh my God, how are we going to do that? So it's amazing. Day by day, the technology was learned and it became easier. And within, I think, 2 weeks, we had classes up and running. But it wasn't easy at first. It was.
Sounds like a steep learning curve.
It was. A lot of sleepless nights crying at the kitchen table, thinking, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into? But
well, I think everyone was very frustrated at that time because everything was shut down. Nobody was really sure what was going on. There was possibly an overabundance of caution. I think everyone's heart was in the right place. But especially because this program caters to folks over 50, a lot of those retirees, this was something that they looked forward to on Fridays, not just for the educational opportunities, but for the social opportunities.
absolutely.
And talk a little bit about maybe some of the things that you've seen or friends that you've made or experiences that you've watched happen where people are coming out of their shell or being involved in these in these social aspects of Encore.
So it's funny that I'm watching especially the first day or the first couple sessions, to watch these folks reunite just like old home week, or any reunion. It's so nice to see them hugging and happy to see each other. I always said it was first the social piece and then the educational piece. People would recommend classes to each other because they wanted either that friend to have a sounding board that they could talk about the class, or just because they wanted to have a friend there with them.
It's a shared experience.
It is. It just like high school, or it's amazing to
just
me.
like high school. The fact that you learned something, that's a bonus. That's
exactly. Exactly.
That's gravy on your potatoes. The real reason you were there is to hang out with your friends.
And then they started the after hours get together. So it was nice to see that continued and grew just as much as the attendance of the classes.
Oh yeah, and then right. So the social aspect for people who are retired, and maybe, right, the kids have all grown up. They're busy with their careers, or they're out of state, or whatever. This must be like a godsend to folks who really are looking for some other meaning in their life. I've worked at my job. I've raised my family. I'm still healthy. I'm still upright. I'm still able to do things. What is there for me to do now? And Encore is really given people a lot of meaning to.
Absolutely. So you're of like mind when you're selecting your classes that you want to attend. And then the people in there are just wanting the same thing, the same results as you. So yeah, it really is coming together, making new friends, seeing old friends, learning some new things.
Then a lot to talk about.
Exactly.
Afterwards, right? That's why they go out.
That's right.
And socialize afterwards, just to talk about all this stuff.
Right.
Now, there's been a lot of really interesting instructors come by in your tenure there. Tell me some of the more out there classes that have been taught.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to sit in on many of the classes, so I didn't get the full benefit of them. But
people talk.
Well, they do. They do. So it's funny that we had one of the instructors who's actually a Tri-C credit instructor who taught the weight machines and
Oh, yeah.
So he taught that the Encore classes the same as he did his credit classes. So those folks were in for a real surprise that they, were able to take full advantage of the weight room and the different aspects of it. So he did both East and West. I think he's still doing it. Just a great, great class.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Were there ever any classes like, I don't know, the history of elephants or... I mean, there's been a lot of... I know for a fact that there are classes on, Catherine the Great, all the different kinds of teas. And that lady comes in and she does these wonderful tea tastings and helps you understand. I'm pretty sure there's somebody doing a class on, English royalty, geography, archaeology, right? I'm looking for that weird class, like the history of brown paper bags or something like that.
So we did.
What's some of the more esoteric classes that you've had, or not you, but like you've seen them?
The handwriting analysis class.
Oh, yes.
That was pretty interesting. Again, I wasn't able to sit in. I would have loved to sit in on it and got maybe understand a little bit about what handwriting or what handwriting experts look for. That to me would have been a very fun class. So the sign language classes are always a big hit with students. Piano, beginning piano. It's like, oh my goodness, who would have thought,
Well, now that goes back to your job. First, you have to find, right, you got 30 people signed up. Now you got to find 30 pianos.
I know. Well, thank God we're able to cap classes so that doesn't happen. But, it's some of your classes, many of your classes were kind of out there and different. And people would always want, detailed explanation. It's like, I can't give it to you. I don't know.
Well, we're supposed to write our own paragraph, and I would write this paragraph, and I'd go, I'm not sure if that's really describing the class, but I can't think of another way to say it.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
And you don't want to give so much of it away to make it, you want people to want more and to learn.
To be intrigued.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, I did meet I cannot think of that dear lady's name now that does the handwriting analysis, but I asked her about it, and she said, write down 3 things. 2 of them are true, and 1 of them is a lie.
Oh, get out.
And I wrote down, my birthday is and this tall or whatever it was. And she looked at it, and without skipping a beat, she goes, that one's the lie.
Holy cow.
And I went, how do you know? And she goes, well, because there's a gap in your words because you stopped to think about the lie before you wrote it down.
Isn't that interesting?
Right? And she was looking at so I mean, like, there's science behind all of the classes that we're doing, like the weightlifting class. You said the guy's accredited. It's not just some schmo that's been lifting weights for 10 years or something like that. And so they know how to adjust the class for a senior citizen versus someone who's 18 years old or whatever. And did you ever have to go out looking for instructors? Did you ever have to tap in where they mostly came to you?
We did, on several occasions, we went to the college and said, please let our adjuncts or professors know that we would love for them to teach for Encore. And we did. We got several folks coming over, and I think most of them are still active. So, but not that didn't happen too often. We always look for new content and different classes that we could offer. Folks always, wanted new content. And we were fortunate enough that when we published our catalog and we would mark new classes, the majority of them were new. So our current instructors always look to add different topic or subject matter that they felt that our students would enjoy. And students also let them know, here's what we're interested in. Like the one instructor that teaches oh my goodness, with the goggles, it just left me.
I don't know. That one's that.
The AI, artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay. Oh, like virtual things.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So he's been doing that quite a few sessions, and I think it's been at least the last 4 that he's been offering the class. And that's always interesting and fairly new as far as Encore classes go. But things like that, artificial intelligence, or Mr. Kalecki, who taught about NASA.
Yes.
If he had come and done a class about the astronauts that are stranded up there in space.
Hopefully they got home by now.
They're not. They're
still
there.
up. Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know. I can't even imagine. But
well, Fran, I've often said to you, I just show up and I say words, and if it weren't for you and other people behind the scenes that were doing all of this hard legwork to the logistics of putting all of this together on 2 different campuses 3 times a year, you guys made it look easy, but I know that was this Herculean task that you
Right.
always had in front of you. And I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I'm so sad that Fran is gone. She's retired, right? It's not going to be the same without her, and it's not. But I will encourage you that now that you're retired, you've got some time on your hands. You could come down and be some of these classes,
Absolutely.
right? You could start attending some of these classes, and that way we won't lose you.
I have all intentions of participating. Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Fran, for everything you've done.
My pleasure. It was truly a work of love. I mean, I always told Suzanne that I never felt that it was a job. It was always fun and exciting. Certainly exciting.
Great. We look forward to seeing you for lots of years now as a student.
Thank you so much, Ted. I appreciate it.